How we doing, everybody? I hope we're having some fun this week. This is our first video here that I'm going to go through the articles and provide you some of my comments. Before I begin talking about the articles, this week mask customization, this one is sort of coming a little bit from left field. And actually some of the topics as we're towards the back end of this semester don't follow that same linear path that perhaps we saw in the beginning of the semester. I mean, last week was leadership. Well, how did leadership fit into all that other stuff? This week is mask customization. And mask customization is almost more of an operations thing and not a marketing thing. And there's probably a lot more mask customization articles in the operations literature. There's only a few that kind of cross over towards the marketing side of the conversation. You know, and you see that strong flavor within these articles, you know. So what we have is this topic, mask customization, you know, this was almost the genesis of the whole class. Way back when I conceived it. To me, the poster child company when I was in the late 90s and when I was entering my PhD program was Dell. Dell was amazing. Dell had an incredible balance sheet, incredible marketing, incredible operations. I mean, they were the Apple of today. And I talked about Dell in every class, and this one-to-one concept, really, you know, Dell was creating this relationships with its individual users. And this mask customization topic was pretty hot at the time. It sort of faded out pretty quickly. And I think one of the main reasons why it faded out pretty quickly as a buzzword term is the market got so big and so fast for computers that it was commoditized. And higher end machines where there was more margins for mass customization, you know, Dell basically got eaten up from below. They went from extreme market oriented, and we could do a whole case study on Dell because Dell made multiple strategic mistakes. But their main mistake is they lost track of competition from below, and they got eaten out from below. And they couldn't maintain who they were as a company. And they never recovered from that. They still haven't recovered from that. Okay, so we have 4 articles here, and very interesting to me is, and this is why this is on the screen at the moment, is Motorola, which is owned by Google. This Moto X phone is actually quite popular at the moment, but in very small numbers. And this is the 2013 mass customized product de jour. You know, you can customize the color. You can custom, you know, from the outside. I mean, they make the phone here in Texas. Mint looks pretty cool. Spearmint, not so much. Royal blue. There's some neutral colors. You know, warm colors. You know, yellow is very popular with the current. Violet, crimson. That's my St. Joe's colors. Cabernet, wine, raspberry. You can do the front. You can change your accent color. You know, you can go like this, or this. Black, orange, metallic red. Some of these don't look all that great. And you can order your phone. Now, I think they're 6 to 8 weeks out to get one of these devices, which is not that good, and they're only making like 100,000 a month. Apple's selling them, you know, Apple sold 9 million in a weekend. So it's a different kind of a product. But I just wanted to make it perfectly clear that, you know, this is still alive and well today. Go through some other examples as we go through. If you ever notice this commercials, they show a lot of commercials for this Moto X. It's pretty popular at the moment. All right, let's start off with Pine and Gilmore, or Gilmore and Pine. The 4 faces of mass customization. I'm sure you will see that this article was published in 1997 in the Harvard Business Review. And these guys, this was, something after this kind of didn't go anywhere as a consulting thing. They went more towards the experience economy thing. And they give you a pretty nice overview of the 4 different ways to think about mass customization. So I think the best way to examine this article is to go to page 95 in the bottom right-hand corner and just to take a look at this 2x2 matrix. Academics and consultants love 2x2s. On one axis, we have the product, whether there's change or no change. And then on the bottom axis, we have representation, or how the product is presented. Then we have no change and change. So let's start at the most obvious one of these, which is the product doesn't change and the representation doesn't change. So this is adaptive. And I think the best example for this category is Scion. Most Scion cars, you can go to the dealership and drive them off the lot. But there's anywhere from 120 to like 159 different aftermarket things that you can do to your Scion to customize it the way you want. And it's all done aftermarket, after manufacturing. So there's a way of customization, but the product is still the same. Now the complete opposite of this, which is the product changes and the representation changes, is the collaborative corner. And this is Dell, and this is how Dell was originally conceived. Dell would not build your computer for you until you paid for it. You ordered it and paid for it. Dell did not keep more than 12 days worth of inventory of parts. So they would sell a computer, they would sell you the computer, build it within 3 to 5 days, ship it to you within 3 to 5 days. So in a 10-day period, they would manufacture and sell your computer and then be able to pay back all their suppliers within a 20-day window and get that extra discount because they're paying before the 30-day window. 210 or 220 net 30 kind of mentality. And they were doing very, very well. It was great. So Dell is the poster child for collaborative, where the product itself changed and also the representation outside also potentially changed too. All right. The other 2 quadrants are not so easy to describe. I guess these are academics / consultants, and they needed a 2x2, so they had to create 2 other categories. Well, the product, the weird one is, to me, is this transparent category, right? Where there doesn't seem to be a change in the representation, but the product itself changes. And there's an example here on page 94 about ChemStation of Dayton, Ohio, which mass customizes a product for most of its competitors that they treat as a commodity, and it's soap. So customers buy soap from ChemStation. However, ChemStation mass customizes the soap formula for the specific requirements of the customer. But it comes in a bottle that looks like any other bottle. I mean, they could ship stuff to you and it would be customized for your plant. They would ship something for me, it would be customized for my plant. Yet your formulation would be different from my formulation. But the bottle on the outside would be the exact same thing. And for some reason or other, they call this transparent customization. Kind of confusing if you ask me. I think the better example for this quadrant is Ritz-Carlton. Because if you go to a Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco and you order a drink and you don't like ice in your drinks, I don't know pick your flavor of drink, and then you went 3 weeks later to a Ritz-Carlton in New York and you ordered a drink, your drink will be handed to you with no ice in it. Ritz-Carlton is fanatic about individual customization and tailorization of your service experience at Ritz-Carlton. And they copy down every detailed piece of information they can about you. This is an example where I think a better example for transparent. The last one is cosmetic, where the labeling changes but the product doesn't change. The best example for that would be bottled water. You know, you've all seen bottled water. You know, you can get Seton Hall University water. It's really just water with a Seton Hall label on it. You could get, you know, if your work was doing a fundraiser, you can get something for your work that had, like, you know, Spirit Day at company blah 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 blah. Yeah. So that's I think that's your main nugget for this article. The idea of thinking about mass customization, but from more than one perspective. As a matter of fact, there's 4. 2 seem to make a lot of sense, and 2 you kind of have to work through them a little bit. Our next article is Paul Zimkin. Okay? And in this article, which was right around 2001, towards the end of the buzzword time period of this mass customization buzzword, and also really the end of the first Internet 1.0 bubble. 2001, 2002 is when the Internet 1.0 kind of died, right? So the main nugget for this one is, starting on page 82, the 3 main elements of mass customization: elicitation, process flexibility, and logistics. Elicitation, the first thing that Paul says is elicitation is hard. And if we see on page 83, you know, yes, elicitation can be done a lot easier through CRM. Elicitation means finding out the information to customize for. So in other words, having the data on a particular customer so you can individually tailor a product for this customer. That's the elicitation process. And, you know, in 2001, this was a hard process. And CRM was very expensive and very prone to failure in 2001. Well, in 2013, not only is CRM significantly better and significantly cheaper, and people are more used to CRM, we now have social as well. I think the elicitation issue is not the same as it was when this guy wrote this article. Process flexibility, second one on page 83. This means manufacturing. How hard is it for Motorola for the product come down the line and, you know, Dan wanted navy and Brad wanted mint and Melissa wanted royal blue and Bo wanted woven white. Oh, that one looks pretty good. Bo made a good choice. And Tiffany wanted lemon lime. And Mike wanted Cabernet because he's a wine drinker. You know, how hard is it from a manufacturing process? How flexible is the manufacturing line in this Texas plant so that all 5 of these orders that I just talked about come down the line, that they get the right pieces to them? You know, you basically have to have the order with all these cool, all these neutral, and all these warm pieces there. You have 2 fronts, black and white. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 accent colors. Then whatever one you get, you can put your signature on the back. You know, it's kind of this is a mass customized product. You know, and that's not an easy thing to do. Finally, we have logistics, and logistics was probably the easiest thing to do of these 3 in 2001, but I think the ability that we have with logistics now is significantly stronger and significantly easier. You know. Article number 2. Check. Article number 3. This is Business Horizons. This publication is a little bit more academic-y than Harvard Business Review, which is a little more practitioner-based. You know. But there was a couple nuggets here that I wanted you to get from Richard and Charles. you know. Starting on page 124 and 125 is really where the majority of the nuggets really that I wanted to get to you guys. Particularly, you know, they want to take this mass customization thought process, which when we talked about mass customization, it was always in an operations sense, and it always involved a product something along the lines of this. Right? Here's another company that does a lot of somewhat mass customization, is Threadless. Threadless has, oh wow, they're doing socks now. Isn't that interesting? Spock crew socks. Neat. I didn't know that. Threadless is kind of a mass customization kind of a company. But soon we're going to get to Nike and Nike ID. We'll get to that in a second. Right. But I like that they were using this operations term, mass customization, and they were kind of using it more in a e-commerce / selling scenario. If we look at figure 2 on page 125, all the way down here at the bottom, okay, there's a line that goes right through the middle of the thing, the middle of the figure. And if you see that we have above it, above the line, mass customized selling, which is the decision support, the bundling, and the crossed e-tailing. You know, as a professor that loves sales, you know, we always would customize our presentations and our pitch for a particular client. So salespeople always had this mass customization mentality when it comes to selling, really. But they're now using that kind of a mentality with product, you know. And the main nugget that we have here is that mass customization, if you have the data on the individual and you have the relationship with the individual, you have the ability to upsell, cross-sell, bundle. These were all things that came up in the e-commerce internet readings, that these are the benefits to doing and having the relationships, having that CRM relationships. It gives you the ability to upsell, to cross-sell, to bundle, and basically give more value to your end users. Pretty good article, a little more academic-y. I particularly like this because in the back of this article we have some discussion of self-service, technology-based self-service. And that's actually what my dissertation topic was. Last but not least, we have a one-pager. I'm sure this was your most favorite article of the entire year. We have 4 academics, all European. This was published in Harvard Business Review. And this is sort of like an extended abstract of probably another article that they're working on. And I wanted to see, you know, was there anything more recent with regards to mass customization? And it just so happens that there has been, particularly on the marketing side, not the operations side. We see here the images. Here we have a couple pairs of Nike, kind of a boring pair, and then we have the Super Mario pair. Anybody order those for class? That would be pretty interesting. But here's an interesting study where they gave consumers the ability to customize, but then the social media crowd made them choose something that eventually made the product less wild and more tame and more norm to a social norm. Right there in the middle of the article, right in the middle of the page. Overall, this was the first study when they were looking at cars. Cars designed by customers who received feedback were less distinctive than the cars designed by customers who didn't. So, some people who customized the cars and didn't get any feedback, their designs were more wild. Yet, the people who did get the feedback, almost all of them made changes, and all of them, you know, probably listened to too much of the feedback and made their choices, you know, it kind of normed them. So many different opinions normed them towards something less wild. And we have the same situation with the second experiment with the earring study. which is kind of interesting. You know, the ones that got the feedback and changed their earrings because of that, they valued those earrings significantly less because perhaps the feedback made them less a product about themselves and more a product about what other people would like on them. So when it came time to sell them, they would only sell them for just like 14 Swiss francs. Yet the group that customized their own product without feedback from anyone else, they valued their earrings significantly more. I believe they wore them more as well. And they would only give up 40 francs for them when they were selling. Interesting article. I never read the original article. I just saw the abstract in HBR, which the July-August issue of 2013 was the last issue I looked at before we started our semester in September. Before the end of the semester, I have to look at the September, October, November, and December issues and see what cool articles have been written in the last 4 months that pertain to all the topics we've talked about this semester. So, in summary, mass customization is a topic area that is more operations oriented. It's a deviation from a lot of other things that we've talked about this semester, yet we can make it fit with regards to the bottom-up leadership kind of a mentality. We can make it fit with regards to all our CRM discussion. We can make it fit with our extreme loyalty because those who customize tend to have stronger brand identity with the product that they made for themselves, particularly if they ignore feedback from people that they asked about it on social. I really like this topic. It tends to be the least talked about of all the topic areas we talk about this semester, but it's not going away anytime soon because we have companies like Threadless and we have Nike ID and we have Motorola, and there's multiple examples out there of mass customization. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to start working on the questions. This is my Mark Zuckerberg hoodie, but I'd rather talk about it in terms of Star Wars because everything's Star Wars. So you will remember. Yes.